go ahead and move us forward onto best practices. There's a lot of times that people who aren't necessarily been trained on how to network or don't have a lot of experience with it can make a lot of small mistakes or faux pas that they may or may not find out about later. But listed out a few things here that they want to try to avoid and or intentionally do. Why don't we cover this? What are the best practices and habits that we should be forming when we're networking?
Sure. About literally 5 years ago, I came out with a book called 365 Marketing Thumb Rules. And when I was writing or putting that book together, it reminded me of the Proverbs section of the Holy Bible. And if I dare say, this is essentially the holiest of slides of our presentation. It's this. It's the quick reminders that we need to bring to heart and actually utilize on a day-to-day basis. And it's really, we make these mistakes or faux pas, as Mark said, all the time, and we have to catch ourselves because we may not be in the mood, per se, of being friendly and interested in others, which is essentially what networking is about. But sometimes you just have to suck it up, to put it that way, and we have a job to do, and when you're at a networking event, you are still working. You're just working as the marketing professional for your practice. First and foremost is, and I'm sure you've heard it before, having a written goal, having a specific goal, specifically here in terms of physical networking. How many events will you be attending, be it this month or this week? We know some aggressive mediators that make it a point to attend at least 2 events every week, which, if you think about it, is about 8 to 10 or at least 8 events every month, which can be extremely aggressive, may not work in your busy schedule, or if you have the time to do so, or you can make the time to do so, that's a great way of jump-starting your practice and jump-starting your network and becoming one of those VIP networkers. Now, even if that's too aggressive, of course you could scale it back and say, great, I'm going to attend 1 event every week, or I'm going to attend 2 events this month. And that's when the quantified number gets into the quality of the events. It's not just the number of the event, it's, of course, which rooms are going to be the most lucrative for you. Some of your VIP peers who are already networking well can help you with that. Some of your colleagues in associated professions can help you with that. And, of course, the best are going to be through your own experience and really seeing where you click and resonate with the folks in the room. Understanding that not literally every room is a bunch of prospective clients, but rather that everybody in that room is a potent and vital resource for your practice, especially when it just comes to referrals to someone in their friends and family circle. Other bullet points to keep in mind that we see all the time, typically at these networking events, especially the ones that are kind of round table oriented, where there will be an opportunity to sit and eat. Unfortunately, I see it all the time of kind of people gravitating and grabbing a plate of food and sitting and eating by themselves, and barring the few occasions where you're terribly hungry and famished and have to do so. And if that's the case, well, eat just enough to gain the life sustenance to get up and actually start networking the room. Likewise, don't sit and stand around those. You probably have to be polite and smile and shake hands and kind of do the smile and nod to your colleagues, of course. You don't want to be rude. You haven't seen some people in a number of weeks, number of months, so it's an opportunity to reconnect. But honestly, these networking events are an opportunity for both of you to really meet new people, which would be an excellent segue for you to kind of break the conversation. Say, hey, why don't we actually take this, reconnect at another time, and let's go mingle with some new people. And that gives you a way out, especially if someone's kind of capturing you into a conversation, which may be productive, but it's not the right time and right place. It's prime time for networking, really.
If I can add just one little point into that, it's also a great opportunity. It's also a great opportunity for if you know a couple of people in the room and one of them walks up to you and wants to chit chat for a while, and you know that they don't know the other person that you know in the room, walk them over and introduce them.
Sure.
and then bow out
Sure,
and go on, or
absolutely.
open your conversation to others. Don't just stand there, engrossed in a conversation and ignore the other people around you. You can both verbally as well as just with your eyes invite others into a conversation. Many people there don't know how to invite themselves into the circle that you've created. If there's two of you, there's a circle of 3 or 4, it's even more so. But so anyway, that's just
to that point, Mark,
one of the things that you can do.
To that point, Mark, one of my favorite tricks of the trade of networking is sidling up and being the third wheel, possibly the fourth wheel, to a conversation where I may know one of the people or at least recognize enough where we'll at least smile so that there's some recognition, and thus inevitably being introduced to that second person that I don't know. And being the third wheel is one of the easiest tricks of the trade, because it can honestly be awkward to walk into a room full of strangers, not know a soul, and have to now start introducing yourself. Now, everybody is sort of feeling like that, but it can be a very junior high school dance type of atmosphere where everyone's kind of waiting for the other person to make the first move. Inevitably, cliques will form. Essentially, they're kind of breaking one of these thumb rules, but it gives you an opportunity to nonetheless interject, help them do some best practices of networking, and more importantly, enable you to network with that new person. So sidling up to people that you sort of kind of recognize is an awesome opportunity for you to grow your network. Part of it, of that, is not to go for quantity. I'm sure you all have seen what I call the drive-by networker, those who, for some ridiculous reason, believe that if they just hand out their business card and essentially assault you with their business card, that somehow will help develop a relationship. I don't really know what they're thinking. Thankfully, I don't really spend too much time with them, because honestly, they're not really interested in spending too much time with me, because their belief is if I can spam this room and go for the number of quantity, maybe someone will bite. Well, you could also hand out your business cards on the subway or mass transit and see if that works too. It's defeating the purpose of networking. It's defeating the purpose of getting to know people in that room. Inevitably, there will be business for you directly in that room, but that's not the purpose. It's seeing who they can introduce you to, and that meaningful conversation, taking an interest in others that we'll talk about in a moment, enables you to endear yourselves with them and then take it offline, take it out of the room, and you'll soon enough be sick and tired of all the cups of coffee you're having with people, but at least it'll be productive from a marketing opportunity. And go ahead and ask for their business card. It's more importantly than handing out your business card is really asking them about their business, and one of the easiest segues is to ask them for their business card. You're immediately taking an interest in about what they do. They'll inevitably ask you for yours, but honestly, if it's not going to be that productive, there's no real rush to exchange business cards just for the sake of consummating a networking relationship, to put it that way. One of the nice tricks I like nowadays, since almost everybody is carrying their BlackBerry, their iPhone, their Android, nearly everybody has their calendar right in their pocket. It's one less phone call, one less email. If the conversation has gotten to the point where you obviously see a synergy, you obviously have an opportunity or want an opportunity to reconnect by phone or over a cup of coffee or at each other's offices, ask them, by the way, do you keep your calendar on your phone, and can we schedule that time now itself? Maybe a little aggressive if the conversation isn't ready there, but sometimes the other person will actually appreciate another trick of the trade. Try it. It's great. It actually saves a lot of time for both of you, and you get to move on that much more easily with the room as well as with your networking career.
Terrific. I'm going to go ahead and take us on to the next section. Being cognizant of time, and what I think is one of the most important things about networking as a whole is get the emphasis off of you. Pay attention to them. If you're paying attention to them, they're getting something that they don't get often enough, which is the ability to express themselves. So pay attention to them, and that will provide an opening for you. But how do you look at that, Vic?
After my one-liner and possibly 10 seconds about what I do, I immediately ask the other, so what do you do for a living? And Bill Clinton has a wonderful quote, the more we focus on them and less on me, the better off both of us will be, which, considering it comes from Bill Clinton, has nuances there. But from a marketing standpoint, from a networking standpoint, the more you're taking an interest in others, the better off both of you will be, number one. I forget exactly who said the quote, it's more important to be interested in others than to be interesting to others. And it's really not about you and your ego and your practice, but really getting to know their world. And that achieves really two birds with one stone. Number one, of course, it strokes that person's ego, and it helps you be that much more remembered and memorable because you're not just talking about yourself. But also, more importantly, there is a very highly selfish marketing research component to it, which is really, to have an ulterior motive, is what I appreciate of it, because it enables you to understand who they are, but also who they know, what other networking groups they belong to, what other networking VIPs they know, what other centers of influence they know, how much of my world they know. And as a family mediator, you want to know a little bit about how much they are conscious of family mediation as a profession, who they know that has gone through mediation or unfortunately did not go through mediation and is now living to regret it. So you're able to get to know their world and get to know who they know and what they know through the guise of hopefully genuinely being interested in who they are as a person and, as, of course, what they do professionally. It gives you also another opportunity of knowing whether or not you actually want to follow up with them. Speaking of which, we had just gone to the next slide of talking about following up. It goes to, as a quick segue, in the interest of time, another tip and trick that I do very often, and Mark may have his own follow-up practices in the sense that as soon as I know I want to talk to someone again and know that I need to send them an email or a quick phone call to set up a meeting, one of my quick things to do is to just take their business card and kind of bend it as a doggy ear. And my own way is that if it's upper right, it's really hot. If it's lower right, it's not really. It's kind of tepid, if you will. My upper left side, the left-hand side, tends to be more referral-oriented. That they're not really a prospect necessarily for what I do, or they're much more a referral source. And in your world, that'll happen very often, that it's not literally the person you're talking to is a prospective client, but they can introduce you to someone. And they mentioned that. They actually said at the introduction conversation, oh, you ought to talk to so-and-so, I'll introduce you to. Well, the chances of them actually now taking the time to proactively introduce you to by email is unfortunately very unlikely unless you remind them again by email and let them know that, oh, yeah, great, I'll give you a quick email and hopefully you guys can introduce me to so-and-so. Other people choose to write on the back of the business card. I personally don't, but I think it is a good practice to do so, especially if you're not going to remember where you met them and about kind of milestones of the conversation. And then, of course, do get back to them within a couple of days. What those number of days, arbitrarily 3 days, but definitely within a week. Just memories at this point with attention, deficit disorders that people have in a non-clinical way, of just an overwhelming aspect of email. People forget. And our responsibility of networking and marketing is to stay top of mind, insight in mind. And, of course, you're going to get them part of your network of email and LinkedIn. Any points to make, Mark?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the last point. I don't do the dog-eared trick. I do the writing on the back trick. Whatever works for you so that you can remind yourself of who they are and what you need to do as far as a follow-up. But really, right now, and this will become more prevalent as we go through the additional seminars, get them on your e-newsletter list or your email list, your newsletter list, and connect with them on LinkedIn. Just don't even think about not doing that. Even if they're not necessarily going to be, you don't see a great synergy potentially. It's a way for you to stay in contact with them easily and simply, which we'll cover in future seminars. But get them in your email list, get them in your newsletter list, and get them into LinkedIn. Connect with them on LinkedIn as quickly as possible.